This is Sid, and this is our CEO one-on-one call where new hires get to ask questions. Caitlin, yeah, first question. Thanks for putting that on. Do you want to verbalize it?
Sure. So I'm Caitlin Chappell. I'm a new support engineer, and I think my favorite thing about working at GitLab so far is that meeting people from all over and hearing interesting stories or about cool things from where they live. So what's something unexpected that you learned from someone here at GitLab?
It's about the places they live. I had a coffee chat that Charlie, who lives in New Zealand, put on a while ago, and she showed us around, and it's amazing. The only grid she's on is the internet, and then only via mobile phone. She's like on a 4G connection. She has pretty good video calling, and she showed us around the property. She showed her woodworking shop, and she showed a tent that they built had a very special story to her. So that was amazing.
That's amazing. All right. I think Ryan.
Ryan, if you're talking, we can't hear you yet.
Sorry, there we go. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Thanks for having us this morning. And kind of more business related question is around, as we plan to potentially IPO later this year, how do you feel that will impact the company, either culture or business or anything like that? Just any changes you feel would be coming from the company at that point.
Yeah, thanks for the question. We're trying to keep our notes on that on this page, so you can Google GitLab being a public company. Important is that we don't want to go back in transparency, and we'll see how far we get in that. I think there will be a bit more distraction if people start watching our stock price every day. Like, that's not super useful. The phrase I might want to use there is the score will take care of itself. Like, we have to focus on getting results. Oh, right. We already have a nice statement here. So we'll get more disclaimers everywhere. Just want to also point out that we're not sure we'll go public. It's our ambition to do that on November 18th, but we'll see how far we get. We'd be much earlier than other companies going public. And in general, the idea is not to change too much or not have it affect our culture too much. And hopefully the greatest things that GitLab will achieve are happening after going public, not before.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. Ed?
I said, Ed Sapoulis on the channel team with Michelle Hodges, responsible for programs and enablement. So, as you look across our alliances and channel landscape and the ecosystem that we have built up and are building, where do you think the partners can have the biggest impact in the next 12 to 18 months?
I think co-selling with AWS is the biggest lever we have. AWS is the most used cloud, and they want their customers to use Devops tooling that is multi-cloud, that is not the property of any cloud vendor. So I think we have a great go-to-market there. They have a strong sales channel. And I think that's where I expect the biggest kind of IACV gains to come from.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for asking. Frederick.
Hi, Sid. Frederick here. I'm part of the finance team. We'll be aligned to sales going forward. Prior to coming to GitLab, I specialize in SaaS, but DevOps industry is something new to me. I'm curious what kind of publication or resources do you usually follow, just so I could understand the industry better going forward?
That's a great question. I think I watch Hacker News a lot. That's about everything, not particularly DevOps. I watch Twitter a lot. That is also about many, many subjects, not just DevOps. I think our DevOps comparison page is an interesting place to start. So if you Google, let me share my screen. So for the screen sharing failed. Never had that before. GitLab comparison. If you go to our DevOps tool landscape, I think it's interesting to kind of make yourself familiar with the other offerings, and you can click them and get an idea for what they do.
Got it.
And if you then want to understand kind of what happens, like what happens in these things, I think you can click this, get you kind of a stage lifecycle, so kind of the features. And if you wonder what's coming up, there's another page on our homepage at the bottom. It will, maybe the feature maturity is a good page for that. You can see how far we are in the different sections. So you can click any section to get a better idea. You can also click roadmap to get a better idea of what's on that part of the roadmap on what we're thinking about. So it's a bit of a GitLab perspective, but I think kind of understanding all these sections, all these capabilities and the competition in each this might be a good way to get started. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Thanks so much, Sid.
Welcome. Thanks for asking.
Thank you.
Monica.
Yes. Hey, Sid. I'm the new sales communication manager here. So my question is, as a fully remote company, what in your view are our biggest kind of strengths, opportunities, or challenges and weaknesses when it comes to internal communication?
Oh, that's a good one. I think a few things. I think we're super transparent, which is amazing. I think what that also means is that we'll have tons of comments on everything. And I think right now, middle management defers a lot to the executive team on communication, especially when it's a subject that is tougher. For example, making a call on a DNI issue or something like that. And I think that has to stop. Like the executive team is not scaling, like it's not growing. So we got to make sure that middle management also understand it's part of their job is not just their reports. It's also trying to guide the company when there's an issue at hand. I think another thing is that there tends to be different behavior in a call versus in text. It's easy in a text to just give something, leave out some context, be a bit snarky. So we want to make sure that every time we communicate, we try to be constructive, and sometimes it's even unintended, but just text communication is lower bandwidth, it has less context. So I think those are two challenges we have in internal communication.
Thank you.
Thanks. Peter?
Hey, Sid. I'm a front-end engineer on the managed team. My question was, what do you have in your office, if anything, like hardware or software that you can't work without?
Well, for sure, external monitor, like big external 27-inch monitor, super important. I got a standing desk. I must admit that it always takes a bit to actually use it. I have two mouses. I got a repetitive strain injury in kind of both my hands, so I got to make sure I alternate my hands so I don't put too much on one of them. And I have now air conditioning in this apartment, which is amazing. It's in the summertime.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks. I'm going to butcher the next name, so maybe introduce yourself.
Hi, Sid. This is Xiaohe. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you too.
Yes, my question has two parts. The first part was the current panic in the stock market and the increased uncertainty level in the economy. What do you want to say to the team to stay calm, keep focused on what we're doing at GitLab? And second part, what's your personal secret weapon to stay calm and focus?
Yeah, I would say stay calm and buy toilet paper because that tended to run out in some other jurisdictions. Look, it's not under our control. What is under our control is whether contribute will happen this year as planned or not. And there's a committee focusing on that. That consists of Todd and Carol and Robin. So they're watching the news and they'll make that call. And And then in life, there's things you have influence over and things you don't have influence over. And clearly a pandemic is something we don't have influence over. And the only contribution we might be able to do is to help the world with remote working. I think right now it's a bit early for that. And it's easy to come across as self-promotional. So our marketing team is looking at that. Other than that, if there's an economic downturn, and this virus might trigger one, or it might not, we don't know. But if there's a downturn, what will happen is that on one hand, it slows sales cycles. There's budgets getting cut, so it will make it tougher to sell GitLab. On the other hand, companies will be interested in saving money and being more efficient with the people they have, which is something GitLab can help with. So I think it will be both a problem and an opportunity. I think I take comfort in the fact that we have a great cash position, so we'll have time, but we should not hesitate to make decisions. And actually right now, I'm going to focus the next 80 days on efficiency improvements with the rest of the executive team and with the rest of the company. So that's unrelated to this, but I think if this happens, that will be the right action as well. That's maybe more than you bargained for with your question. Any comments from you?
Thank you. That's awesome. And what's your personal weapon to stay calm and focus on, day in, day out?
Yeah, like in the beginning of the company, you had fewer events, but they had a bigger amplitude. Like it was, oh my goodness, it's so great, and the company's is at risk. As we get bigger, the amplitude got lower, but you have a higher frequency. So it's important to not get swept up too much in the emotions, otherwise you're on kind of a roller coaster the whole day. And my way of doing that is saying, hey, not so much like in the beginning, if something happened to the company, I was like, oh my goodness, like the company should be perfect and this is a problem and I'm responsible. Now I try to think more like, okay, we're a bigger company now. There will be good and bad things happening all the time. What can I do about it? What is my role? What should I say? So it's important to kind of limit yourself to kind of your sphere of influence. If there is something, it's about what do you do about it. It's not the thing that happened. If it's outside of your control, it's outside of your control. You can do anything about it.
Thank you, Sid.
Thanks for the question and the follow-up. Ronnie.
Hi, Sid. I'm one of the new managers for support engineering. My question for you is, which would be the most valuable lesson you have learned as a CEO?
Well, what lessons have I learned? I think one thing I'm proud of, I've been pretty good at delegating, so just giving people assignments or things, results, goals. I think I've gotten better at goal setting. One thing you keep learning over and over again, if things are not working out, you should part ways. If things aren't working out, quickly letting people go is a lesson you have to learn again and again and again, because you keep there's a natural tendency to try to fix a situation. And I'm surprised at how easy things like all remote and transparency are. They're not easy, but they're much easier than I thought. We're now the biggest all remote company. We're now, I think, for our size, the most transparent company in the world. I didn't think that was possible, and we're not it's not something hopefully that people perceive as we have to expend so much more effort to be transparent. Yeah, it's painful every now and then, but it's almost a natural thing, and I think that's kind of fun, interesting to see. I didn't expect that. I thought that we don't do these unique things because we want to be unique. we do them because we think it makes sense and it aligns with our values. But it's surprising to see how you'd think there'd be more companies that be unique since it's relatively easy, but there aren't. So I'm not sure that's a lesson, but it's something I'm a bit puzzled about.
Thank you.
Thanks. Lily?
Hey, Sid, nice to meet you. Mine's a bit of a fun question. What's your favorite place to travel, or what's the #1 place on your travel bucket list right now?
Thanks for that. I'd really like to go to Japan and Moscow. I think that's the top two. Japan, we were looking to go to the Olympics, but it might be very hot there. And then it's not super fun if it's super hot and you have to kind of like attend things. So we canceled that. It's also a ton of time. And Moscow is also a bit too far away right now. What's convenient from San Francisco is Hawaii, which is an amazing place. So we'll look forward to go there. What's also convenient in big quotes, we're close to it. It's not convenient, but Alaska is wilderness. So looking forward to trying to go there this year. Might also go to the Caribbean this year. With the plan of going public, we didn't know we might have to cancel some of the vacations, but I said I'd rather cancel them than not planning them in the first place and then not being able to go anyway. So that was the strategy for this year. This feels like vacation bragging. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It all sounds like good options for this year. Hopefully you get to go on them.
Yeah, I had like 8 weeks of vacation last year, so I think it should be possible. Axel?
Hello. So I'm a front-end engineer on Plant. So like coming from a startup that are always like rushing because everything has to be done by yesterday, and given our focus on results and outputs and our ability to work flexible hours, like how do you best structure your day for balance between professional and personal life? Thank you.
Thanks for that. Well, first of all, you shouldn't work the hours I do. I'm the CEO, and I should be probably the busiest person. Also, I'm the largest individual shareholder, not individual as in non-organizational, non-VC shareholder in the company. So I both have the role and the incentive to work longer hours. So don't model my behavior. I commonly get up at 6 o'clock, go to the gym, and I start at 7:30, and commonly the first call is with our personal assistant in the Netherlands. So then at 8 o'clock, the company meetings start until 5 o'clock mostly. And then I wrap up, try to answer a few emails and every last Slack message. So I work from 8 till 5. And then I have some family in the Netherlands, so I do calls with them throughout business hours. So just like most calls at GitLab, those are 25 minutes as well, except they're mostly via WhatsApp instead of Zoom. Shadows, any comments?
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I would say that's pretty accurate representation of your work, although I do see you working later than 5 sometimes.
Yeah, but maybe I work between 5 and 6. It's maybe a call or maybe wrapping up, but I tend to not work after 6. And then in the evening, I tend to have dinner that is, on the shadow page, I think it's called the Valley type, where it's kind of a person you like, but it's also a professional contact. So it's both at the same time. Ashley?
Hi, Sid. I'm Ashley. I'm part of the People's Group. I had just one question. What is one decision you are most proud of, either personally or professionally?
Well, personal. I'm proud of proud that I got Karen to be my partner. Professionally, I mean, it's all about results. So what's the highest impact decision we ever took? And the highest impact decision was to merge GitLab version control with GitLab CI. Who here knows that story? Okay, so no one's raising their hand, so I'll tell the story. Or no one, I could just see 5. I didn't switch views. In DevOps tooling, you had point solutions for every part of the DevOps lifecycle. And at some point, someone made we had 2 products. We had GitLab version control, GitLab CI. At some point, Camille makes a much better version of half of CI, the runner part. We end up making him an offer. He joins the company. A couple months in, he says, hey, we should combine the 2. And Dimitri, my co-founder, says, doesn't make sense. They're perfectly integrated. Like, they have single sign-on, the same concept of what a user can do. There's no benefit there. I also say this doesn't make sense. Our customers like to buy individual tools and compose them. And he keeps, even after the initial no's, he keeps pushing for it. And he says, look, it's going to be better, not just for us, easier for us, but also for the user, because you can have everything in context, everything in a single data store. And we do it. And it turns out he's totally right. And right now, it's changing the industry. You can see GitHub now following our lead with adding CI and packaging and security to their product. And we're leading. We have the broadest scope and the most depth in that scope. So that decision changed the industry. It changed our company and our trajectory. And it's something we did after we initially said no. So I'm glad we reversed that decision. And that's where our sub-value of disagree, commit, and disagree comes from. Okay. We invite people to disagree with decisions. We do expect, if a decision has been taken, to execute on that decision. But you can keep disagreeing with the person who made that decision in the hope that they'll reverse it. And that's, I think, the most important decision at GitLab, and it wasn't obvious.
Thank you.
Thank you. Peter?
Hey. Yeah, I mentioned in the GitLab history that you are a Ruby developer, and I was just wondering if you still write Ruby code for GitLab, and if not, if you miss it at all.
I don't. I miss it a little bit, but I bet that if I'd had to do it now, it'd take me half a day to set up my environment properly, so I won't. I do think someone on Hacker News kind of complained that handbooks in general are mechanical and feels almost like someone's trying to program the company. Guilty, like I think I'm now trying to program the company to the handbook, and I think it's super high leverage, super high impact. It's a bit of a fuzzy programming language, this English prose, but I think it's very flexible, and it allows for a lot of creativity and impact. So I like that. I wonder whether any of my lines are still in GitLab. Maybe in the README, a few lines here and there. I think my SSH code was really, really bad. So I think that got removed pretty quickly. But if someone is curious and finds out, please dump it in the CEO channel, how much is still in there. But also, I'm not the world's most talented programmer. I saw in previous engagement that I tended to gravitate towards project management and things like that. So I like it like this. There was a recent magazine cover. It's on my Facebook post, so maybe the shadows can try to find it. It should be a public post. But I said in the interview, my wife is a better programmer than me, and they used that as the headline. So that was pretty cool. She's a senior software developer at HackerOne. She just got a promotion. I'm very proud of her. Joe, you have the next question.
Hi, Sid. Joe Fenter, ISR team, public sector. So one of the things that kind of intrigued me, this is from some previous career experience, was that there was some content that was publicly available on what GitLab was doing with blockchain. Since my onboarding, I haven't had that much time to look into it again. So I was just curious how you see GitLab aligning with blockchain, what use cases you think are probably the most valuable for us and our customers, and particularly if you see any in the public sector or defense.
Yeah, I don't think we have a lot of blockchain things going on, other than that there's blockchain companies using GitLab to develop blockchain software. I see blockchain as another data store. We use Postgres for database records. We use Redis for kind of queues. I'm going to use Vault for secrets. We use cloud storage for like big attachments and log files and things like that. Blockchain is another one of those methods. It's slower, more expensive, but it's super reliable. It's shared. It's kind of a place of record. So I could see us at some point, for example, we have a releases feature, maybe notate or annotate that release in the blockchain so that everyone knows what's up. But I think that's a bit far-fetched. That's more trying to make blockchain work with GitLab. I don't see anything on the year horizon where blockchain have an impact, other than hopefully all the blockchain companies will use and continue to use GitLab.
Good to go.
Yeah. Do you have another perspective?
I think what was interesting is seeing if particularly the government will adopt it to take some of the inefficiency out of things like getting approvals for DCAA, which is the federal compliance for contractors, helping people with other types of compliance, like around security, like the risk management framework. The problem with that is that the government itself has to embrace it, and I don't think they're that motivated to do that. So I've been trying to figure out how do we jumpstart this and kind of force the issue with government, but that's a big project, and I haven't seen anything that seems to be moving in that direction yet. But I think it would be beneficial for everybody if we could get some of that bureaucracy out of the way, especially to help innovation and help us, stay on top of, of technology and in the forefront.
Yeah, I could see. It would be cool to have a better land registry or something like that with blockchain. I think it's kind of weird that you have to buy title insurance when you purchase a home. So I could see that, but I think a lot of things where people are now advocating for blockchain in government could just be solved with the government having a database with an API. It doesn't necessarily need to be on the blockchain. Cool. Are there any other questions? And feel free to just verbalize instead of putting them in the doc first. Well, in that case, thanks everyone for joining. Welcome to GitLab. Thanks for selecting GitLab. And I hope you have a great time, and I hope you have a great weekend. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sid.